Poindexter from Modoc County, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's always an honor to be in a building such as this. Before I even get going, I want to see a raise of hands, veterans in the audience.
Veterans?
I'm a second generation Marine. My dad, I was born at Camp Pendleton. My oldest was born at Camp Pendleton. It's a good thing too, because Modoc's so poor, we really have to improvise and adapt up there. I know my dad's probably rolling over in his grave over the way the country's headed, and it's disheartening. A little history of Modoc and myself. I've been the sheriff in Modoc. I just got reelected. I was in an election. I'm not a politician, so this has been a very interesting thing to me. Kind of an anomaly. I may be an anomaly, I'm not sure, but I worked for the state. I was a hired patrolman. I was a grunt, road dog, never even took a sergeant's test, and all of a sudden now somehow I got talked into running for sheriff back down the road. So I'm truly for the people and for the troops, right down to the socks, you know. And I take a lot of heat over it because I don't necessarily get along very well with government, but you know, it's not who I work for. So I ran my last campaign on that platform, and it worked out well for me. And I got to tell you before I go any further at all that your sheriff has been a mentor to me. I've learned a lot from Dean. He's very, very, very well read. He's very well spoken, and he's very well respected everywhere he goes. And I've been in many places with him, so I can't imagine doing my next term without him as your sheriff. So we're hoping it works out. Modoc County is the 10th largest county in the state geographically, 4,200 square miles. We have a total of about 9,500 people. So we don't have a traffic light or a 4-lane stretch of road in the whole county. Love it, absolutely love it. We've got a bucolic lifestyle. Years ago, of course, our customs, our culture, why we became a county was, of course, the railroad and logging. And no logging anymore. We have a mill that's supposed to be open, a very small one supposed to be open. It's been supposed to be opening for about a year. They're having a hard time finding logs because nobody will let them log. Right now, cattle. We're the second largest cow-calf producer in the state. And we have a lot of problems with the fact that we're 74% public land. And I say public land, I know everybody in this room, if you're here, you understand the public land concept. It's your land, and it's our job to make sure that we spread that word, especially to the people who manage it, or supposedly manage it. We count on that, man. Our ranchers right now, you know, a good year of that 74% of our county, in a good year, the ranchers get to have their cattle out there grazing for maybe 120 days. And they use that time very wisely because on their land at home, they're farming and they're trying to put enough hay to get through a Modoc winter. And they can be pretty severe. We have a feral horse issue in Modoc County that probably most people in the state aren't even aware of. You know, we hear the term wild horse all the time, and they're beautiful creatures. They're not indigenous to our county. There's no such thing as a wild horse in Modoc County. They're feral horses. They're horses that have gotten away or been let loose by the ranchers over the years. And they're doing very well. They really are. And don't get me wrong, I mean, they are beautiful, but the Devil's Garden area of our county, where there's probably 3,000 of them. And what our ranchers are experiencing their permit, like I said, on a good year, they get 120 days out there. Well, guess what? There's no feed. Why? Because the horses have eaten it all. We're experiencing drought problems like everyone else is. Modoc County is a high plateau. We're at the top of the water table. The riparian damage, if you're a rancher running cows in Modoc County and your cattle get into the creeks and start doing damage, the Forest Service is on you, and I mean now, and you will fix it or your cattle are out of there. By the way, who's charged with mandating the feral horses? On the National Forest, the U.S. Forest Service. On BLM land, BLM.
Should be you guys.
Yeah, well, you know, I would love it if it was, because, you know, ranchers go up there, they take care of what they're supposed to do. The Forest Service completely ignores the fact that they're tasked with managing these horses. And the riparian damage from those horses that are up there 24/7, 365, year-round. You wonder why our reservoirs aren't filling up and the water isn't going down so that the farmers can use it and then heading down to Sacramento. By the way, Modoc Plateau is responsible for 20% of the water that comes down into Mount Shasta and heads down south from there. And a lot of our reservoirs are, they can't get water in them, even on a good runoff, because the horses have done so much damage around the edges of these reservoirs that the water, the normal course that it takes to get in there, it can't get in. And we had the state up several months ago and showed them exactly that. Now we've got curtailment letters because the state is coming up with this water plan. And by the way, you know, rural counties, I mean, we just got it tough because we don't really have a say in Sacramento. It makes it hard. We're forced to try to implement rules that are made. You know, when I worked for the Hired Patrol's Canine Officer, and this is a pretty good way for me to tell you how this logic thing works. In Modoc County, I mean, if it's 20 below, we get a lot of snow. I thought, well, it'd really be nice to have a four-wheel drive patrol car for my canine, because I'm helping the sheriff's office all the time. I'm all over the place, and I can't get there half the time. So I wrote a justification, and it went through my boss, and then it went to Redding, and then it went to Redding's boss. It ended up down on the 3rd floor in Sacramento. And it probably went back and forth 3 times, and then finally it gets to the person it's supposed to get to in Sacramento, and they're going, well, tourists, Modoc County wants a 4-wheel drive unit for their canine officer. I can just picture them pulling the blinds down, looking out the window from the 3rd floor at Sacramento. Denied. And that's the same people that write the rules for us up here in this country. I went down, we're trying to get into jail. We have a jail that was built in the 70s. I mean, it's antiquated. I went down to Sacramento to do we had a needs assessment, and we applied for this thing. And I'm not, I mean, what you see is what you get with me. I mean, I go see the governor like this. And well, I don't care. I'm not talking about that son of a bitch. So anyhow, it's going to make me lose like train frog. Or wasn't I?
Yeah, he's supposed to be working for you.
That's right.
You know, we get these things shoved down our throat and they don't have a clue. When I'm down there trying to sell this jail thing, I'm watching the counties ahead of me. And I'm just like this. I got my jail sergeant, who I call the ogre. He's like 6'6" and about 330 pounds. And he's in uniform. And that's it. That's all we got. I mean, we don't have anybody to come with us. Oh, and they say you can't do visual aids at this presentation, but you can bring poster boards. Oh, I'm going, oh, wonderful. Try to get a poster board in Modoc County. You can't get a poster board in Modoc County. I mean, we're on the phone with a printing company in Redding, and then we're doing the email thing and trying to send digital things back, and we get to pick it up on the way down there, so it's either going to have to do or it isn't. But I'm watching the board that's listening to these presentations, and everybody's down there in a suit and a tie, and they're very scripted, and they got a whole entourage of people with them in there. And one after, I've even got an on-deck circle, so you know which county's next, and they move up. And the board, the people that are making the decision are just going after each one. They're just like falling asleep. It's like, so I stirred them up a little bit. I woke them up. I made them a little interactive. I asked how many of the people down here making a decision on whether we get a new jail or we get funding have ever even been to Modoc County. I got one hand, which I was surprised actually. So I told them, you know, I don't remember when this was. It was November. I said, you know, I left Modoc County at 3 in the morning. It was 20 below. And we're not expected to see a high above freezing for the next week. I told them, like I told you, you know, we're 4,200 square miles. We don't have a traffic light. I don't know how long I waited in traffic lights after I got off the freeway to get to that building, but, and I really got their attention. Boy, we scored really high on the need, but we didn't get the money. So we're stuck.
Dress code.
Modoc County Sheriff's Office, we have 9 entities under our umbrella. You know, we dispatch for 23 different entities. We're the only public service answering point for the county. We run a jail. We do patrol. We keep the peace out in the county. We do the coroner's job. We have animal control. I'm the director of OES. I don't know. That's not probably all 9. I'm sure I can't even keep up with them. We feel, you know, I feel these guys pain, but I always make them feel good when I go to these sheriff's meetings. Because we field one shift, period. I got 6 deputies. I'm the day shift and the undersheriff. So that when the only shift we field, which is swings, comes to work, they don't have 20 calls waiting. So, you know, I would love to field a shift, you know, 3 and cover 24 hours. We can't do that. Our vehicles are falling down or breaking completely. We're driving vehicles that have 200,000 miles on them every year. They write them out of the budget. I'm talking to Dean and Mike here, you're right. You know, the cost of doing business goes up every year. This year, the cost of doing business in Modoc County for insurance and other things has gone up $300,000 for our little outfit. I said, well, let's submit a budget and ask for, you know, a third of that. Maybe we can get our budget increased to 100 grand. I got a deal back saying they want me to cut 100,000. Well, you know where? I don't know where we're supposed to cut it. I don't know how we're supposed to continue to provide the service that the people deserve and keep morale up. This AB109, oh my God. All it is to keep people out of prison. That's all it is. And make your county jails into mini prisons. We've had a drug task force up there since 1990. I was on loan to that task force when I was in the Highway Patrol for 2 different terms. Now, that money, there's federal money there that comes to the state that's going through BSCC, which is the Board of State and Community Corrections. It's turning into a competitive grant and going through the Board of Community Corrections, what's their main goal? Reduce recidivism and keep people out of jail. So now, all the things we have to address in trying to compete for this grant are, how do we better prevent and educate? How do we better do all this touchy-feely stuff? There's no consequences for anything. And it's all directed toward crimes of violence, which is fine, except that, what do we know? We know that if it's a violent crime that you're convicted of, where are you going to go? To prison. That's the only way you can go to prison these days. So that's what they want us to target. So, I mean, I don't know what we're going to do without it. It's a valuable part of our community. Most of our crime, in some way or another, is connected to drugs or domestic violence or alcohol. And I don't know how you're supposed to stay after it and keep going after it with no support. And then keeping morale up on a small outfit like mine is very hard when there's, you know, people ask me, and we've educated them, I think, finally, how come you keep letting so-and-so go? Whoa, that's not me. I mean, I've refused to let them go. And the judge, until the judge sends me a letter or the DA sends me a letter, no, I'm not letting that sex registrant out who failed to register. I'm not letting him out. Well, you have to let him out because I'm not going to file. Well, send me something in writing because I'm not going to do it. And then sure as heck you get it, don't really have a whole lot of choice. Out the door they go. 2 months later, we arrest the guy for molesting his own kid. It's just, and how do how do you keep these guys up? Haven't had a raise, I can't remember. I wasn't working there when they had a raise. And it's not unique just to us, it's everywhere. So, I don't know if there's anything really else I wanted to touch on. 80 grand cattle. The water curtailments, they're not allowing us to fill our reservoirs. The curtailment letters that have went out to everyone post-1914 water rights says, open the gates. You don't get to store this water. It needs to all run down to San Francisco and LA so they can keep their swimming pools full. Well, what's going to happen come spring if they don't lift this, and what runoff we do get, there's no water up there. I mean, you can't do it. We just can't do it. We're very fortunate. We just got a grant, and we're hoping to be a groundbreaker on coming up with our own water plan for the county. And this is really the key. Get the government back closer to the people. Who knows best how to take care of our natural resources and our public lands than the people who have been making a living doing it for 4 or 5 generations or more. So get the control back to the people, at least back to the county. So I'm for anything that can head things back that direction. I think we'll all benefit from that. We work for you guys. I can't stress that enough. I re-swore every single person on our department to make sure they understood what their oath of office meant. Because I've taken it I don't know how many times, and to really pay attention to what it means. Apparently, we're educating the people and we're being successful in some places because we got good people like you here today because you're all concerned. And if you don't know, it's business as usual. So, spread the word, let people know what we're fighting. And remember, none of us are doing this. We don't have an agenda. We work for you. We're trying to keep the lifestyle that you all have known, that you fought for, a lot of you, that your families or someone you know has fought and died for. We're trying to keep that alive, and hopefully keeping on that course, at least the people in these rural counties are going to say, and keep the right people. So, thank you.
When a drug raid is made, if you find money, where is it supposed to go and where does it actually go?
We'll get to those kind of topics in a minute. Most of it goes back to, if it's seized, it goes into the court, and then once the court's done with it, then if the person's convicted and if it's turned, then it comes back to our drug enforcement, which we can utilize those resources for that going forward. But again, sometimes it becomes very problematic. Far too often in my county, we end up turning the money back over to the offenders, which is inappropriate in my book. But what we're going to do is I'm going to touch on the impacts or what's going on with AB109 first, and we're going to pass it around, and then we're going to deal with several different topics as we go forward. For anybody that doesn't know, 20 years ago, the state of California was sued in federal court, and that lawsuit said that they did not have proper medical and psychological coverage for inmates in the state prisons, and that they had to reduce their population and increase the level of service. The state of California for 20 years did nothing about it, believing that they could prevail in court and that they would be allowed to maintain